So what I'm going to do, because this one I'm not quite finished with, but almost. So I'm going to give you a little walk through them so you can see how I use them. And sometimes it really depends on what's going on in life and what I'm thinking of. So the beginning of this one, and this is a watercolor sketchbook. So this is really high quality paper. Really turned into a place that I was taking notes and writing down ideas. But since it was watercolor paper, I tried to think about actually going back in and using watercolor. So bringing some more color into it and being a little bit more playful than sometimes I am even with my writing, just because of the type of paper that it was. So this sketchbook, even within my note taking, actually ended up having more color in it than a lot of my other sketchbooks do. So I continued on lots and lots of kind of not so exciting note taking. You can see every once in a while I draw in it. To be really honest, I don't love sketching. I don't really love drawing. So that's why my sketchbooks tend to not be filled with drawings, because that's not something that I find really enjoyable or even super helpful in my personal process as an artist. So you want to think about that too. Now you're going to see a drastic change when we get here. So part of this is I was going to be presenting at a conference, and I really needed to think about what I was presenting and how I was using that. And it really turned into thinking about how to use our sketchbooks, but use them for different mediums. So as an artist, I'm a weaver, but sometimes it can be sort of overwhelming because to set up the loom is so time consuming and the materials are expensive. And so sometimes playing with ideas on there is a little bit intimidating. So I started to think about how could I actually play with ideas within my sketchbook. And so that is what started to happen. And so you'll see there's a whole series. The rest of these pages are all different weavings, which we're going to talk about this process a little bit more in a moment. So this is a more expensive sketchbook. Then we're going to flip over to, this is what I normally use. So not always this brand, but sometimes I make them, kind of a more inexpensive sketchbook. And it really becomes a space for absolutely everything. And I kind of want to free you up into doing that. So a lot of times I'm writing ideas in it because that is personally how I process. And so even as an artist, I want that to be okay with you. You'll see there are some pages that are folded over. So that normally means that that's something that I'm currently working on, that I'm trying to make sure I go back and revisit that. You'll see that there are pages pulled out. The reason I do that, so that would mean the front and the back is already filled. And that whatever was on it isn't like I'm done with it. I've already done the idea. It's not really helpful. I don't need it anymore. And so I will actually slowly pull pages out of my sketchbook. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about how I really, throughout the time, condense my sketchbooks. Because I write in them so much and use them for everything, I go through them fairly quickly. So this would be another page of something that I'm currently working on. I go through them fairly quickly, and I actually don't like to have like piles and piles and piles of sketchbooks, especially because most of this, to be honest with you, it's not really that beautiful. It's really helpful information. It was really helpful at the time that I was working on it, but it's not like a lot of it. And you'll see things like this that are crossed off. So that might be writing that I've already put into a blog post. I've transferred it onto the computer. I prefer to write on paper first, so there's some more of those. I'll kind of cross things off as I deal with them. These are pages of questions that I'm asking myself that I still have to come back to. You'll see I do not necessarily go in order in my sketchbooks, but I do try really hard to use the fronts and the backs of pages because I don't like wasting paper. So even as I get near the end, so this one I'm getting really close to the end of my sketchbook, I actually start to flip back through and find like, are there blank pages or blank spots that I could still put ideas on. So that's another way that I work with my sketchbook. So I want you to really be free and realize Your sketchbook does not have to be this beautiful thing. So we tend to see and look at and love, there's nothing wrong with them, of artist sketchbooks that are like really, really beautiful and there's wonderful drawings on every single page. And if that's how you like to work, that's fine. But if that's not actually how you like to work and that's more a pressure you're putting on yourself, then that's not helpful because that's defeating the purpose of a sketchbook. It's really a place to work through ideas, collect information and inspiration. And it may really just be a book for you and not something to share with everyone else. So think about how that works best for you.